Hello, everybody. Well, I guess it's been a couple of weeks, so my apologies. I mean, I usually upload a video every couple days for the last 13 years. There have been a couple of exceptions where I took a week off or 2 weeks off for a vacation, but my reason for uploading was never, to keep the channel growing and getting money or anything, because I don't make any money off of like ads, but it was more just to keep in touch with my subscribers, the people who watch my channel, because you're awesome. You're awesome people. Like I read a lot of comment sections on YouTube, and just like every one of you, right? And I try to compare and be not too biased, and be like, how does my comment section compare to some videos? I'm like, God, it's great. I haven't seen an argument or a quarrel in years. And it's not because I don't talk about controversial topics, but that is a big part of it. And I'll get to that. But it wasn't always that way. My channel, any of you who have followed me from way back in like 2011 or 12, back then I was into the whole Mayan calendar thing. Like I was sucked into the spiritual side of things, like deep. And I was watching like David Wilcock and trying to learn about like alternate theories on existence and reality. I was reading The Holographic Reality, this book that was just like blew my mind, that atoms were mostly empty space. And I was going through a major transformation in my own mind and life. And that was about 12 years ago. And then something happened. I went into the dark winter. As they would say, the dark winter of a man's soul. It's a real thing, I'm in my late 40s. I'll be 49 in November. And so I've, about the last, 4 or 5 years, I've been in kind of a funk. COVID definitely threw a crimp in it, but it wasn't just COVID. It was something that had begun long before that. Basically kind of a midlife crisis, if you will. And YouTube would just happen to be where I would express my thoughts. And, it may not have come across in the videos so much, but now that I look in retrospect, it definitely did. Because I was changing my mind about so many different things so fast. I was aware of myself. I've always made the best effort to be self-aware, to know what I'm doing in this world, and to try to seek to use my best intention to live the best life I can. And not just for myself, but for others. But I also see that, everything, the opposites, everything has an opposite, right? I mean, the dualism of life is beyond measure. I mean, it's sometimes you find you lack the words to express what you want to share with people. And that's what was happening to me a long time ago, like a decade ago, when I was getting really deep into my spiritual work and trying Kundalini yoga and all these different meditation practices. And I had all these things drawn out and candles, little chalk area where I would like sit and meditate. And I tried all these different methods, read all these different books, went to all these different spiritual, like, I never bought anything. Like, I'm not an idiot, all right? I didn't go out and like buy a bunch of fucking courses on how to be more spiritual or anything like that. It was just more like, I, as a human, know that there's something deeper to this existence, and I want to know as much as I can about it. And during that time, a lot of weird things happened, a lot of synchronicities, running in, doing a home and garden show for my construction company and happening to be right across the way from another company who came over to talk to me and ask if I was a Freemason because of the name of my company, Above the Level. And I said, no, but my grandfather was. And he's like, oh, really? I was like, yeah, he was a 32nd degree Mason. And he's like, oh, where at? I was like, oh, or who was he? It was Robert Watts in Estacada. He's like, oh my God. It's like, I have his book. This guy that I just randomly met that asked me if I was a Freemason turned out to have my grandfather's Freemason book. Well, I mean, shit, I'm not wearing it right now, but often I'll wear my grandpa's Freemason ring. And it's just the energy that comes from these items. You know, I definitely believe in energy being carried through totems, but not to get into that too quickly here. It's difficult to talk about God because people are afraid to say God. And when you say God, 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 you could use a capital G, lower G, doesn't matter. It's the same because everything is the same. But there is perhaps a more appropriate term that would be used, just the grand architect of the universe. And there would be lesser gods under that God. Growing up, I was not religious at all, but I was curious. I was spiritual. I have, you know, all these weird alchemical tattoos on my leg, and it just keeps coming full circle like a wheel, over and over and over. Go through a phase, and then I'll get into the 3D reality for a while, then back into like my spiritual teachings, and then into the 3D reality for a while. And I've been thrown for quite a loop for my whole fucking life, you know. The whole time saying, in the deep, deep, deep seated part of my soul, from the time I was a teenager, I've felt like a major event's going to happen in my life, and then I'm going to be a huge part of it, and part of the new bringing forth of a better world. It sounds crazy, and I've kept that to myself my whole life, because what do you do with that, right? It sounds grandiose, arrogant. And then through some of my practices, you know, over the years, I started to catch glimpses of this other side of life, what you would call, I guess, the ether, you know, tapping into that consciousness of what is, what could be, what would be, what has been. And all of a sudden, all of those pieces started to fall into place. The alchemical pieces, you know. The Philosopher's Stone in my life has finally been found, is what I'm getting at. I have found the Philosopher's Stone. I have been out there, you know, with my irons in the fire, you know, trying to, you know, melt down my mercury and blend all of my herbs and my chemicals, you know, metaphorically here. I don't even want to go into the alchemical bullshit, but for those who don't know, alchemy is, of course, turning lead to gold is considered alchemy. It would be transmutation of metals, base metals, into gold, or something thereof, or changing substances. But alchemy itself was really just a route, a way to find a god, a way to find what the Philosopher's Stone really was. It's not a fine, refined white stone that you carry around in your pocket, of course. Just like, you know, many of these symbols within, for example, the Bible, like the Ark of the Covenant, that was always something within you. It's never been outside of you. And it's Christianity, Islam, you've got Buddhism, all of these different, you know, Hinduism has some amazing, you know, reflections on some of these topics with multiple gods. But when you put it all together and you've analyzed it over the years, and then you've pondered it as much as you possibly can, you still really can't come to terms with it until you have a mystical experience which puts it together for you in a way that's coherent, but that doesn't make you feel like you're going insane or being delusional, rather. So a true experience with God without feeling like you might be delusional, that's what faith is. It's an unquestionable connection. And here's what I found. I feel like a lot of people have been taught and raised to believe in a higher power, but have never had a direct experience with God. And therefore, these are the group who are often the most bitter. Then there are those who are religious but have had the experience. They're less likely to be extremely bitter because the experience has shown them that what they believe and what they practice truly is. In the way that my God, the way God expressed himself to me, was totally unique to my life and my path. And I was set forth on this quest long ago when I was young, but it has started to come full circle, and it's culminated in this experience that I've been having lately of just complete, utter understanding in a way that I have no intention of defining it. I have no intention of explaining it. I have no intention of proving it. I have no intention of bragging about it, that's for damn sure, or pretending like I know the answers to everything in the world, or that I can answer some kind of a religious question about what God is or what existence is. The folks who are too focused on convincing others on what they believe are the ones who never got it, the ones who don't understand. The profane, as they might be called in some circles, I really don't like that term, because here's the thing. I like all humans in their own way. But when a human shows me that they have, say, a shitty side, shitty personality, shitty attitudes, I call that out too. You know, we're all just human. We're all just doing our best here, trying to navigate this world. But there's a very small group of people who make most of the problems for everyone else. We know this. And generally, most people live basically very religious lives in their own way. Not necessarily pandering to some belief system, or, you know, because to me, having a pope means nothing. I mean, a middleman between me and God to have to go to a cardinal and go to a pope. I don't need my babies to be dunked underwater to be saved, okay? And I appreciate anyone out there who thinks differently. However, I've been baptized in my own way. Believe me, the anointing oil, the anointing of Christ, whatever you want to call it, Christ consciousness. If we could just get past these fucking definitions, pardon the language, but God damn it, using God's name in vain is not going to send you to hell. Saying fuck is not the worst thing in the world. The things that we deem to be horrible sins are ridiculous. What we need to be is more receptive to each other's viewpoints, more understanding of how different religions work. I've talked to people who want me to be a Christian, and then they will refuse to look at any other religion because they say it's against their religion to look into other religions. Like, why would that be the case? Well, I don't know. You can trace it back. Why is knowledge bad? Why should you not eat the apple from the tree of knowledge? You know, why is Lucifer the morning star, the evening star, Hesperus, phosphorus? You've got all these different alchemical terms for it. Satan is part of God. It is all the same. It is the yin and the yang, the black and the white, the up and the down, the back and the forth. Everything has an opposite. Okay, so this union of opposites is what we would call source. And if you've ever pulled yourself back into source, which can be achieved many different ways, you know what I'm talking about. You get to the singularity where you say, holy fucking shit. I am cosmic. You know? And then you step back from it, you question yourself, think, was that a real experience? Then you go about your life for a while, and then you have the experience again. And then you have it again, and again, and again, and again. And meanwhile, you sit back and say, that was realer than this. Looking around at the world around you, your eyeballs are taking in the information they can, processing it, turning it into pictures, right? Sometimes it fails us. Sometimes we see things that aren't there, right? Maybe we're having delusions. Maybe we don't know what we're talking about. But when billions of people are having the same delusion for thousands of years about the grand creator, the archetype of existence, then it's kind of hard to dispute and just say, well, religion is over. We're just all atheists now, and we're going to move on with our scientific future. Don't get me wrong. I love science. I love all it's brought us, but it's questioning itself right now, not understanding that there is the God molecule, the God element. And it's not a molecule, literally, of course. God is everything. We are all part of this whole. And it's an amazing experience. And once you've had a direct experience with Source, it's what I guess some people would call like a download of information that comes really quickly. It's not shareable information. It's an understanding. And until I had that, I could never really be sure. And I've had it a few times in the past, a definite surety. But I've never been able to hone it to this degree where now I feel like I'm finally in control of my own domain. I'm in control of my own brain, finally. Not completely. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not a fool, because you're never totally in control of your own shit. You will always have these outside forces pushing on you. You'll have your bad habits. You'll make mistakes. You're only human. But to be able to live your life without worrying all the time, wouldn't that be a blessing? I'm working on it. I know everyone fears death to an extent, but I've definitely made it a priority to conquer that fear in my life. And when my time comes, I hope I will take it with gusto and say, hey, this is life. It was great. Had a good ride. I did what I could do. I raised kids. I worked. I was Joshua the carpenter that raised children and had a beautiful wife and a home in Vancouver. And, I wouldn't change anything, because everything I've experienced made me who I am today. And what I realize now is that we're perfect the way we are. It's just the way it's supposed to be. It's not about changing ourselves. It's about accepting ourselves. So imagine if the entire world could wake up to the possibility of just accepting who we are to start. Because when you accept yourself, finally, wholly, it's the only way that you can accept other people. And once we accept other people, we won't start demonizing other groups of people, saying that they're the enemy or they're animals, or, find some excuse or justification to point at a group because of the color of their skin or their gender or their attitudes or their religion, whatever it might be, and just say, I need to know this person on a personal level before I can make an assessment. As simple as that sounds, it's asking a lot from people. And what you'll find when you go out and talk to people face to face, this is like, I've tried to think of ways to do this. Like, what if it was what if you had an event in a town where there were a lot of, say, hardcore left-wingers and hardcore right-wingers, and everybody went to this kind of group meet where everybody would sit around and talk, but it was dark so nobody could see each other, right? I guess you could do it on a computer or anywhere else. And you find out this person you've been agreeing with the whole time, you're a full-blown cowboy hat-wearing conservative, and then here's this, hardcore, pink-haired liberal girl over here that you totally agree with on certain policies. And you know what I'm talking about. Or Christians and atheists, understandings about life. There are certain things that we do agree on, basic premise of existence. Be a nice person. Don't be a dick. Don't kill people. Come on, mind your own business. Try to help people. We naturally want to help each other. It's in our blood, So, I guess I can leave it there. I can go on and on, probably make a longer video, but I just wanted to keep this kind of somewhat brief and to the point. The world is changing. And there's something going on out there, and my latest alchemical studies that I've been doing have brought me to this weird understanding that we're on the precipice of something big right now. And that might sound crazy. I guess it does sound crazy. It's like the prophet screaming, the end is near, with the sign on the corner, right? But it's not like that. I see it differently now. I don't see it as a major apocalypse. It may be, but apocalypse merely means unveiling, really. It doesn't mean disaster. But then again, disaster means unfavorable star. So there's another side note. In other words, disaster, aster means star, and it means that the stars aren't right for you, which the cosmic effect probably has a lot to do with it as well. There are things we can't understand, very mystical things that are very hard to comprehend, and I'm spent my whole life trying to wrap my head around them. And I'm finally getting to the point where I'm going to be able to actually explain some of this to myself and hopefully convey it to other people, if it's possible. But these aren't secrets, and I want to tell you, it's not like, I know people hear the word alchemy and they think, isn't that like where, people hide their knowledge and secret societies? The only reason they hid them there's two reasons why people hid their knowledge. One was because the Christians would basically burn you alive if they found out that you weren't, they'd say you're worshiping false idols. So a lot of times these groups had to go underground because they believed in God, but it wasn't the Christian God. It was like the all, as they called it. But there was also the aspect of some people just aren't ready for it. And I know I've said this before, but the old saying, of course, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. I always thought that was just kind of hokey bullshit. I really did. And I have to say I was completely wrong. I've been looking at the same pictures and reading the same texts for years, the Corpus Hermeticum and, the Secret Teachings of All Ages, Manly P. Hall, listening to all these lectures from Carl Jung and Manly Hall and Alan Watts, and finally, all of them just made sense at once. I don't know what you would call that. I guess it would be like a Satori, but every single thing that I've ever studied in my entire life came together in the last month or so. And now I realize what my path is and what I need to share. And I hope that doesn't sound fucking arrogant, because it really does sound a little crazy when you think about it. But then again, God directs us to do our, to, I guess, fulfill our path on this planet. And some people don't believe that, and some people do. It's like, if you're an artist, if you're a person who creates, it's so easy to get blocked by society telling you, you should be doing this, you should be doing that. If in your heart what you want to do is paint, fucking paint. You know what I mean? You'll make it work. But it's easier said than done, because we have to work a job. We have to make money. I mean, I love doing carpentry. I mean, I love what I do when I'm doing carpentry, like putting cabinets together today and stuff. I like that. But I don't like, lifting heavy beams and doing concrete work and digging dirt. So it's like, but there's some joy in that, I guess, too, in the right context. But my point being, we all have to do the hard shit to get what we want in life. We know that. But we should never suppress our artistic desires. If you want to go out and paint, paint. If you want to create, create. And don't worry about what other people think, because your muse could be waiting for you to just go crazy, and you might find your passion. And passion is what matters in this life. Passion and direction. Just something that you want to yearn for, whatever it might be. I get it. I'll do jewelry one week, and I'll do fucking work on making paper mache some week. Whatever it might be. I started building guitars. I've got all these guitars behind me, half finished. Electric guitars that I put all this time into, and I moved on to something else, and I don't criticize myself. I'm just like, I'll come back to it. You have to go where your muses take you and your passions. And that's what alchemy is all about. It's about allowing yourself to flow through these phases and realize that one day everything will come full circle, and you will have that Philosopher's Stone, which is the soul. When you get right down to the bottom, the Philosopher's Stone that you're seeking is the soul. But not just the soul, but recognizing your soul, entering your soul, and communicating with your own soul, which is something that just makes me almost tear up thinking about, because I've had this experience and it's amazing. And I realize so many people that I've doubted, they're not necessarily doubted. Some people are very sure about what they believe to be true. And I understand now. in a way I didn't before. And it may have taken me till I'm almost 50, but it's never too late to learn. All I've been seeking, perhaps I was just was resisting me because I was seeking it. I don't know. But I do know this. This life is a wondrous thing and a blessing. And there will be hard times, because without them, there's no good times. And with that said, I will continue on this alchemy series, which is what I'm going to be discussing for a bit. And I appreciate you listening, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Thanks for watching the video. As usual, this one is on YouTube. I didn't make a podcast. I really should have made a podcast here, an audio version for my podcast, but that is 15-minute free thinking. You can find the links somewhere, but if you just Google 15-minute free thinking, it'll pop up on any podcast platform. And my Patreon is Carpo719 if you'd like to, contribute in any way. I actually, once in a while, will post videos just for patrons. So yesterday I actually posted one about ketamine, my ketamine journeys and experiences and some of the things that I've discovered. And it's like a 40-minute video, and I just put it up just for patrons because I just wanted to say thank you to all of you who take the time, because I know it's a weird world. We're moving forward quickly. It's hard to know, should I, I don't want to subscribe to some YouTube channel and pay every month. I get that. I'm trying to set it up to where I could take maybe, donations through, you can always donate through PayPal too. I have a PayPal account, but it's not about the money. I do this for the love. But I've always told myself, if I started making enough money, and if I was confident enough to ask for donations, I could actually make my channel my main focus rather than have to work, all the time. And I like working. I still want to work, but it takes away so much of your energy of focusing and making videos, because I realized when I wasn't employed, or when I was working from home and working less hours, I would make a lot more videos, and I was really interested in YouTube and sharing thoughts. And so that's kind of a props to the YouTubers out there. And I know how hard it is to actually, sit down and write your script and whatnot, because it's hard for me, and I don't even write a script. I'll write notes. I usually have a list of notes that I'll read out, something around, something like that, where I'll read it behind me. I don't have any today, but that's because I don't feel like I need them. I just want to be able to talk about life, express it, and share it with you all. So thank you for coming. Much love. Call or text somebody that you've been putting off that loves you and needs you. It's like this world, we just need to help each other out. You know what I'm saying? There's so many people that need love. Give it to them. Peace out now.